Hello everybody, thank you for joining me. On this video I'm going to cover a fairly simple job, replacing the rear disc brake pads on an 05 Dodge Grand Caravan, probably the same 2002 through 2007. In this particular instance I'm just swapping them out with ceramic disc brake pads. It costs a little more, but I got kind of tired of washing the car, getting to the end of the driveway and the wheels are black. So first step, I'm gonna take it you already know how to take the wheel off the car. Then you got to loosen up the brake pads, basically compress the piston back here a little bit, and what you're going to do is put a screwdriver between the arm of the front brake disc pad and the disc itself, and then give a little tug like that on each side. And you don't have to compress the piston all the way. You just have to do it enough so that we can remove the caliper and get the old pads out. Your next step will be to grab your number 7 hex socket, preferably on a breaker bar, because it could be a little tough to get loose. And you see there's a rubber boot here, and you got one over on the other side over here. Those are slide pins for the caliper to move on, and you got to break them loose and take them out. And once they are broken loose, then you can switch over to a ratchet and spin them out nice and easy. Okay, now I'm going to compress that piston a little farther. And now you want to pry up over here opposite of the spring. The other side of the car is a mirror image. And lift that up. Then you gotta get in here and pull this brake pad away from those nubs that you see there, there, and there are fitting in those holes. And they will stop this front outer brake pad from coming off. And this one's coming off pretty easily. And then you pry from the bottom on that one. And that pad's out of there. The rear pad just plugs right into the piston of the caliper with those spring clips right there. Okay, next step will be we have to compress the piston all the way back into the caliper in order to accommodate the new full-size brake pads that are going in. Some people will put the old pad or leave the old pad in the caliper, get a big C-clamp, clamp it on the back and the front of this inside pad, and slowly turn it to compress it. But for under $20, I got this on eBay, and it's a lot less cumbersome and lighter weight. And all I gotta do is slowly crank this thing. You never want to put a lot of force onto it. If you gotta force it, then something's wrong. And that's feeling like it's bottoming out right there. And that is it. That's all I need. Then we take our brake cleaner spray. I already actually ran some sandpaper across the rails here where the brake pads run. I also ground sanded back in here to clean that up. I'm going to spray all this down to get it clean with brake cleaner. Also inside the rubber boots where those guide pins go, spray that out real good, get that clean. You can even rubber paper towel in there because we're going to be greasing them up. So let's get this thing cleaned up. Okay, now we're going to install the rear pad or the inside pad. Put a little bit of the brake caliper grease onto the prongs of the clip there, and you also put it onto the piston on the inside, and then make sure it's seated properly in the hole, and then just snap it into place. There we go. Now, next step will be, I'm going to put a little bit of grease onto the contact points where the pad contacts. And that should stop that from binding up for about 4 days. But they say put it on there anyway. That should be good. Don't glop it up too much. And you also need to lubricate the back points here of the caliper. It's probably too much. That's going to help with putting that front brake pad on. The front brake pad, the spring, I mean the outer brake pad, the spring always points to the rear of the vehicle. So on the other side of the vehicle, the same brake pad will be a mirror image. If both brake pads in your kit have them pointing the same way, take it back, because it's not going to work right. So you want to hook this spring under the mount of the caliper, and the spring, as I mentioned before, always points to the rear of the vehicle. And sometimes you got to tap it a little bit to get it into place. Should be all it takes. And now take your caliper with the inside inner pad already mounted. You want to have some disc brake caliper brake pad grease on there and there, and I also put it on a little bit on the inside of those clips there. This will be the part that fights you. And line up your rear brake pad. You'll line the teeth up with the mount that's there, and then while you push down, probably a little bit with your screwdriver, and push, push, and get it into place. And you will know if you have it into place. As I'd mentioned before, the nubs that are on the outer brake pad have to fit down into the hole there. And let's see if you can see it. Got to make sure that the brake pad shim is flush with your caliper down in there. If it's sitting on top of that bump, it's going to be out about a 1/16 of an inch or so. So check that. So long as you're down flush, you're good. Otherwise, you may need to put a screwdriver under the, oops, a little bit under the outer metal of the brake pad, and give it a tap. And that looks good. Next step will be to put your guide pins back into place. You notice I smeared it up with a light coating of disc brake grease. I also took my small screwdriver and coated the inside of the boot that it slides through. And so we will just want to slide it through there. Grab your 7mm Allen and screw that puppy down. And before that's tightened, we're going to do the same thing to the other side, get that in place. Okay, and you want to torque those guide pins down to 26 foot-pounds. That's it. That's it. Okay, and that's about it. Put your wheel back on, torque those lug nuts, and you're done.